Hello, everyone. I'm sorry for the last minute change to the Zoom link. Somebody let me know that it wasn't working, so I hope everyone was able to get in. So we're going to give it a few more minutes. I'm Kirsten Millar, and I have our executive director here, Katie Sawyer. I will ask everyone in a minute, but y'all can do it if you'd like to just introduce yourselves and where you're from, your city or town in the chat. Just sort of in the interest of time, we'll do that so that we can, get started, and then we can leave time for questions and things at the end. Sure, let everyone in. Technology only works when it works, right? Someone let me know, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
And we'll ask everyone as we're going through to sort of stay muted throughout, just so the background noise, we're recording this. So for people who can't attend, we're recording it so they can watch it when they have a chance.
All right. I'm going to give it one more minute just to see if a few more people hop on, and then we'll get started. Missing anyone? All right. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to have an orientation for the more people. Sorry, everyone's coming all at one time. I knew that was going to happen the second I started talking. Middle.
Get another minute or two. It's okay. Everyone's finding that new link.
I know. I'm so sorry. All right. Okay. Hi again. Take two. Just want to thank all of you for being here tonight, taking time out of your evening for this orientation. I'm Kirsten Millar, the policy director at the Virginia Breast Cancer Foundation, and our executive director, Katie Sawyer, is also here on online with us. I mentioned at the beginning that if everyone could put into the chat who they are and what city they're from, or what town or city they're from in Virginia, as way of introduction, and then we will kind of get through the slides, and then at the end we can have some more discussion or question and answer. And I'm sorry, MJ, thank you so much for alerting me to the link problem. So I'm hoping everyone got my email, and like I said, technology works great when it works, and then sometimes it just doesn't. So, okay. I think I have let everyone in. I'll give people a second. All right. And I'm going to start sharing my screen.
And just again, if you want to, mute yourselves, we're recording this. So for background noise purposes, we're trying to have sort of a clean version, so that way we can share it with those who aren't able to join us.
All my things. Katie, can you see the screen okay?
Yes.
My slides. Okay. And I always forget how to move to the next thing. Well, everyone, thanks again for being here. Tonight, we're going to try to cover the following things. We're, please introduce yourself in the chat and where you're zooming in from. We'll go over the schedule and just review some of the logistics. I'll give a, sort of short, very brief overview of the General Assembly session for this year. do a sort of speed version of the legislative process as review. I know a lot of you already know some of it, but just in case not, just to give the top line. And then we'll dig into the legislative priorities that we are focusing on for our Advocacy Day. I sent some background materials, but we'll sort of go over those and can have some time for questions. And then we have a little bit of just sort of information on what it looks like to go into Advocacy Day and meetings with your legislators, and some tips for just how to approach it, and again, answering questions you might have about that piece of it. I'll turn it over to Katie just for this slide and then move on.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us. I mean, we are really excited. You know, our organization really started with 5 women who met in an MCV support group and were sort of angered by what they saw, the lack of progress in the early 90s. So really in 1991, they took a group to the Virginia State Capitol to rally for a Mother's Day rally. And so really our advocacy work really started with our founders. The things we hope to achieve by our presence are really increased awareness among Virginia's legislators about the lived experience that you bring through telling and sharing your own stories, you know, as they relate to the policy agenda, but really just making connections. You know, your own personal visibility and relationship with our legislators, their aides. I think we'll talk about this. I'll try not to get ahead of myself, but so I won't go there. But communication to them about our issues of importance. So we really do try to focus on a couple priorities, you know, give you easy talking points and make it simple to join us. And then really to begin or continue a relationship with your legislator. You know, you've essentially elected them to office, so they do like to listen to their constituents. So you really do. Thank you for joining us. I mean, I think you'll find that legislators are really receptive to this when they have sort of real life constituents who aren't paid lobbyists coming down, but real volunteer advocates. So thank you for joining us.
Sorry. And I will just say also that I will send out copies of these slides after the orientation. So don't feel like you have to copy everything down. I'll do that hopefully first thing tomorrow. So I've sent this before, but just wanted to review the basic schedule. If you are riding the bus with us down to the General Assembly, try to be here by 8 or 8. We'll probably leave by 8:15. So if you can sort of aim to be here by 8 o'clock, 8:10 the latest, that'll give us time to, you know, if you're driving from out of town, you know, we can meet in the lobby. We have a restroom, sort of get yourself organized, and we can all sort of say hello to each other, get on the bus to go. When we get to the General Assembly, it'll be hopefully we'll get in the room by about 9 a.m. And I'll go through sort of logistics of getting into the building in a second. And the idea there is that we'll have a little bit of time to, again, meet each other and maybe organize in groups that might be going to their Advocacy Day appointments together. And then from 9:30 to about 11:15, we will have our legislator meetings and drop-bys if you don't have a formal appointment. And then around 11:15, 11:30, we will gather on the first floor. There's cafeteria there, and we will, for those who want to stay and do this, to go to the gallery in the House of Delegates. We will walk over to the Capitol through a tunnel that they have, so we don't have to go back outside and we don't have to go through security again. There's kind of a tunnel that we can walk through over there, and hopefully the House goes into session around noon. So hopefully around that time, we will get access to the gallery, and Delegate Simons will be introducing us from the floor and recognize us up in the gallery. After that, sort of, again, I have all these approximate times because who knows exactly how long things will take. But then if you're joining us for lunch after Advocacy Day, we will head back to the VBCF office for lunch. I am your main contact for the day, and I've put my cell phone number here. This is mainly, you know, if you think you're going to be late, if you wake up sick and can't come, just text me and let me know. You know, the bus will have to leave by 8:15. So if you're going to be a lot later than that, we will ask you to maybe drive down and just meet us at the General Assembly building so that we don't hold up the bus. When you get to the General Assembly, there will be security to go through. So, you can bring your keys and phone and things like that and stick them in the little bin to go through, but obviously no metal or weapons or things like that that might trigger the security. And if you are driving on your own, please try to be at the building around 9. We will be going up to the 7th floor, and there is a meeting room up there, and that's where we'll be sort of gathering. And I've sent this to folks that there are some public parking lots in the area that might be of use if you are driving on your own. There should have been a link in one of my emails. This is what the building looks like, just to give you a sense of where you're headed. The entrance for the building is actually on the far side of this building on Broad Street, even though the address says 9th Street. The public entrance is on Broad Street. I sort of covered this, no guns. They're, going through security. It's going to be really crowded. I have been down at the General Assembly for all last week and today, and definitely lots of groups that are kind of doing what we're going to be doing. They're all wearing certain colors, and they have their folders and their appointments that they're going to. So it definitely is busy. The elevators in particular are kind of, can be a trip. They are, they'll open on the floor and just be packed with people, and you can't get on. One of the things we found last year was that if an elevator opens and it's going down, but there's space, hop on, because you can ride down and then ride back up to your floor. That can work. There are also stairs that if you were just going from one floor to the next, it may just be a lot quicker to just take those stairs up or down. There may be some last minute schedule changes. I may get, legislators calling me saying that the meeting that I had scheduled for you isn't, we need to push it. So I will try to, keep people abreast of all of that. There is pretty good signage in terms of like, once you get to the floor that you need to be at, it's kind of like a hotel. There's signs that give the room numbers this way, that way, but it's okay. It may take you a little bit to find your room, and that's okay. There's definitely a lot of walking and moving around. So if, one of the main things is wear some comfortable shoes. It's going to be a fun day, but definitely you're going to get some steps in. So, and again, our main meeting room is the 7th floor house south meeting room. We'll have some coffee and light refreshments there. You'll meet each other, and I'll review the day and any updates that we have. We've also invited the legislators who are the patrons of our priority breast cancer legislation, Delegate Simons and Senator Durant, to speak to the group. I asked them to come around 9. It's not, they have lots of busy meetings, so hopefully they will be there on time. But we don't know. So hopefully they'll be able to stop by and everyone will get to see them. You will get a name tag, schedule of your meetings in the morning, a pink tote bag to keep all your papers in, and you'll have a participant folder and also folders of materials that you'll leave behind with your legislators after your meetings. And we've grouped you as much as we can to attend meetings together wherever possible, where you share a legislator. I think we have close to 27, 28 appointments set. And it's not for lack of trying. There may be a few of you that don't have a set meeting with your legislator, but that's actually, not the worst thing in the world. You can still drop by their office, and often you'll get lucky and they'll be there, or their aide will be there, and they will spend a few minutes with you. A lot of times when people do advocacy days, they don't make appointments. They kind of just walk around and try to talk to people. So I think it's great that we have formal appointments, but it's not the end of the world if you don't. I'm still working on it. I have one more day, so hopefully I'll get a few more in and everyone will be all set. We will begin around 11:15, sort of trying to gather at in the first floor cafeteria area. so that we can walk through that access tunnel that I mentioned over to the Capitol building. Hopefully we will sort of, be up in the room together, most of us, and be able to kind of go down together. But it's possible that a few of you might have a meeting that goes till 11 or a little later, and then you can just meet us down there. And I sort of mentioned this before, but the House session begins around noon, and we will wait when we go through the tunnel. We'll wait to be admitted to the balcony gallery for recognition. I want to just note that while we're waiting, there won't be any seating. It's kind of, you get over there and there is a staircase that you're kind of standing on as you wait to get up to the balcony. We'll check in with the person organizing it. But we might be standing for 15, 20 minutes to a half an hour while we wait to sort of get cycled in. It's one of those things where we may not be the only advocacy group trying to do the same thing that day. Delegate Simon's aide has alerted them that we're coming, but there may be some other big groups coming as well. So we will, what they would normally do is sort of, take in a group, have them be recognized, leave, the next group comes in. So just mentioning that in case, after the full day of meetings, if you decide you don't want to go stand in line, that's fine. You could sit in the cafeteria and wait for us to come back. That would be fine too. And then again, sort of approximately 12:30, I hope we'll be wrapped up with that, and we will get the bus to go back to the VBCF offices and have some lunch together. So I wanted to just give sort of a top line of the General Assembly session for 2025. This year, we are in a short session. The General Assembly rotates between even and odd years. Even years are long sessions, and then the odd years are short sessions. So it's a 45-day session, started January 8th. It will wrap up by February 22nd, hopefully. Sometimes they'll extend it if they feel like they need to. We have a divided government where we have Governor Youngkin is a Republican, and then both the House of Delegates and the Senate are controlled by the Democrats, by slight majorities, but you can see the numbers there. Last session, the biennial 2-year budget was adopted. And this year, there are budget amendments to that 2-year budget. So that's a key feature of what's happening around the GA this year, as you hear a lot of discussion of priorities and spending issues. One of the things we're watching, you may have heard on the news, is that funding for Virginia's Medicaid program is there's some worry that we're in a shortfall there. And so they may need to find money to fill that hole. So that's definitely a big chunk of money that they're looking for. And, everyone it has a priority that they want to have funded. So everyone's sort of vying for the bucket of money that is available. So that's something to keep in mind. And then this is just, wanted to give people, if you weren't sort of familiar with how bills go through the General Assembly, this is a speed version, and I have a link at the bottom, how a bill becomes law if you wanted to know more. But the bills can originate in either the House or the Senate. Patrons are legislators who file the bill or sign on to sponsor it. Companion bills means it's the same version of the exact same bill in both the House and the Senate. And we'll talk about this in just a minute, but we have that situation this year where we have a House bill that is, about eliminating cost sharing for diagnostic breast imaging. We also have a Senate patron. And so we have a bill sort of in both houses, which is great. This link here, the legislative information system, is if you wanted to track the bills on your own, you could use that link and put in the bill numbers and see where they are in the process. It's a really great system and pretty easy to use. They just revamped it this year, and I have to say it's been really great. It's been easy to sort of track and figure out what's happening. bills are, once they're introduced, they are assigned to a committee for consideration and debate. The House has 14 committees, the Senate has 11. If the committee reports the bill out or approves the bill, it goes to the full chamber for a vote by all members. When a bill passes out of one chamber, then it must go through the same process in the other chamber. So if it starts in the House, then it has to go to the Senate. The crossover deadline is the last day for the bill to get out of the chamber and where it was originated. And that's kind of sort of like the midway point in the session. And this year, crossover is February 5th. So it's coming fast and furious during this short session. And so there's a lot of scurrying going around to get bills heard in their committees, decided upon, and decisions made. And then, as you can imagine, the bill has to be passed by both the House and Senate, and then also signed by the governor. And he can also, if the bill, even if the bill passes both houses, he can still veto the bill. So that's kind of the quick version. So I sent some information about this. The key priorities that we have for this year, for this session is, as I mentioned, HB 1828 and SB 1238. Those are both the same bill, and they will eliminate the out-of-pocket costs for diagnostic and supplemental breast imaging. This applies to the health insurance plans that are regulated by the Commonwealth of Virginia. And that's an important point that I just want to mention, that Virginia only regulates a certain number of health plans, the ones that are on the exchange that Virginia manages. There may be people who have health insurance through a large company. Virginia doesn't have any control over those, but this is for people who have an individual plan or something that is on the exchange that the Commonwealth of Virginia manages. We talked a little bit about I sent out some information, our fact sheet, and then also just some talking points. And the idea with that is that the fact sheet is kind of the top line, and that is something that you can leave behind with your legislators. The talking points piece, I tried to put in some other, bullet points and things that you may or may not find helpful as you try to understand the bill, and maybe points that you want to highlight to your legislator. Everyone I know on this call knows, that you cannot diagnose breast cancer with one screening mammogram. That's one of our main points, is that to get to that diagnosis of breast cancer, you have to have these additional images, and they are medically necessary. And people are often really not able to afford some of the out-of-pocket costs, and then they delay coming back for those follow-up images. About 10 to 12% of women will be called back after their screening mammogram. So it's not everybody, but for the folks who do, we get calls here at VBCF on a fairly regular basis of people saying, I got a bill for $600 and I can't pay it. And they also want me to come back in 6 months to check again. And how can I afford that? We have been working for a few years to put together some diagnostic and screening funds in Southwest Virginia and now in Central Virginia, where we can help people pay for those costs. But that feels like, a Band-Aid to a bigger problem. So this bill is trying to do that, is to eliminate those copays, coinsurance, that sort of thing, so that we can, so that everyone can get to where they, need to be, get their diagnosis, get to treatment. One of the things that often resonates also with legislators is that not only getting to your treatment sooner and diagnosing your breast cancer earlier, helping saving lives, it also saves money to the healthcare system in the long run. Someone who delays and doesn't come back until later may need more extensive surgery, a longer course of treatment, and it costs more money. So that's the first one. This is also, just to note, this is a bill that we have been working on for a few years. Probably everyone on this call knows that things don't happen quickly in government. And so we've introduced it for a few years. It had to go through the Virginia Health Insurance Reform Commission, which had to look at it to see how much impact it would have on the state. So we are really thrilled that it has gotten through that process and it's a live bill. An update from just today is that the bill was heard in a subcommittee of the Labor and Commerce Committee, and we are excited that it was reported out unanimously by the members of that subcommittee. So that's a great hurdle that we got over, and it will go to the full committee potentially on Thursday when we're there. And, so we will be following that, and I'll let you know, if on Thursday, in fact, it will be in the full committee. If it goes to the full committee on Thursday, it'll be sort of a performative vote. The fact that the subcommittee all unanimously voted for it to move on to the appropriations committee means that the full committee of Labor and Commerce will probably just say, okay, they sort of listen to what the subcommittee members have decided. So again, it's good. It's good, a good thing. So we're excited about that. The second bill that we have a priority legislation that we're focusing on is HB 1725. And this is around medical debt issues. Some of you that participated last year or have been following us know that last year there was a bill that we supported that said that that medical debt could not be reported to your credit score. The idea with medical debt is that there may be other kinds of debt that, you bought an expensive car, you had some other issues that, you spent too much money, you've got debt, you've got credit card debt, something like that. Our issue is that, as you know, no one asks for medical debt. No one asks to get sick. No one asks to get cancer. We feel like that kind of debt is a little different than other kinds of debt, and that it's a huge problem for cancer patients in general, breast cancer patients, but cancer patients in general. The American Cancer Society has been looking at this, and some of their recent research showed that almost half of cancer patients and survivors have medical debt. And I know that many of you on this Zoom know firsthand how much it costs to go through cancer treatment. So this bill builds on what happened last session, and it prevents patients from being charged interest or late fees on their medical debt. It would create affordable payment plans where, sometimes they'll give you a payment plan, but it's too high. How can you afford it? And so having the payments capped at a certain percentage, this 5% of your monthly income, we feel like is a great idea and would help people a lot. And it also ensures that your home cannot be taken. That would be a protected asset. And I think, some of the fact sheets that I sent have a little bit more information on this, but that's the sort of top line about that. That bill was heard once already this session, but it is it's sort of moving through the system, but it didn't get out of the committee yet. So I'll, if there are updates to that, I'll let you know by Thursday. I'm trying to think what's next. Well, before I move on to that, to the next piece, just wanted to know, while we're on this page about legislative priorities, if anyone had any questions about the priorities that they wanted to bring up and we could talk about before I move on to the next piece.
Hey, Kirsten, I'll just...
Yes.
Oh,
go ahead.
Oh. Hey, it's Marilyn. My question is, what happens to the bill after it gets to the main committee, the full committee?
The recommendation today from the subcommittee was that they reported the bill and they want it to go to the appropriations committee. So the appropriations committee, this bill does not cost the state of Virginia as a whole money. You know, health insurance companies have to get rid of the copays. However, the state of Virginia also has its own healthcare plan for its state employees. So there is a cost that would be to the state to do this for their own state employee health plans. That number we are waiting on. What you put in a fiscal impact statement request that you want them to figure out how much do you think that's going to cost them? We don't know that number right now. We know what we got from last year, but that's why it has to go to appropriations, is because the state will have to find some amount of money to cover their own employees for this.
And Kirsta, I was just going to note that Lacey Fink had a question in the chat that
Oh,
said,
sorry.
do we have a list of insurance plans that are managed from Virginia so we can use them as examples impacting our communities when speaking to our representatives?
We have, I can find out the ones, most of the large insurance companies that you think of, like Anthem, and that have both private plans that insurers and big companies might choose to use, and then they also have plan options on the state exchange. But I will try to pull that together because it's a good idea.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I was just asking because in my geography here, I would say 90% of people that live in our region that are not Medicare, Medicaid would be Anthem.
Right.
I mean, we have Aetna through Carillion, but most people in this area are Anthem people.
Anthem. Yeah.
And so I just want to be able to relate it back to our
Yeah,
community to when we speak.
that's good. Any other off the top of your head? And like I said, on the, we have tomorrow, if you want to call me, if you think of something overnight that you're like, oh, I meant to ask that, or email me. And then on Thursday morning, we'll have a little bit of time before you have to go to your meetings to sort of just regroup. And if you have some questions, then I'm sure if you have the question, probably other people have it too. So it'll be good to all be together and talk about that. So in terms of what you can do to prepare for Advocacy Day, I think the main thing is if you don't know who your legislators are, but I think most of you do because you let me know, look that up. And if you've never met with them before, you don't know much about them, it's always helpful to just do a little bit of internet research, find out something about them that you might find interesting, or maybe you have a connection with them on something, just in general. And, looking at the advanced materials that we send, I will, if I have updates to what I've already sent you, I will send another packet of information, but also note that when you get here at Advocacy Day, I will have all that printed for you. So you don't necessarily need to print it yourself. I'll have copies of everything I've sent you. And I think this is really important that you don't need to feel like you have to be an expert on each piece of this legislation. Your legislators, when they meet with you, your meetings are going to be fairly brief. I think them knowing who you are and why you're there and what your story is, why we have the materials is so that you can sort of hand it to them and say, this is what I care about. And that has some of the information. They can dig into the bill number and that sort of thing. My advice is, think of one or two things that you in particular want to make sure you share. I sort of do this myself when I go to my meetings, is sort of write down two things that I'm like, I want to make sure I say that, because you can get caught up in a different conversation and then I leave and think, oh gosh, I wanted to say that, I didn't say it. So that's good. And I also say, share what you're comfortable about your personal story. In no way, shape, or form am I saying you have to sit down and tell them everything about you. But something that you think is important for them to know about, that, where you work or what you do, or what was particularly hard for you as you went through your cancer treatment, or your family's, something like that might be helpful to just highlight for them. When you get to the legislator's office, there will be an administrative assistant who usually is the admin for two different offices, the sort of two legislators. So just let them know who you are and that you have an appointment, hopefully, and that you're there, and they'll get you checked in. If you don't have an appointment, you know, this is what I've been doing in the last week or so, advocating for this bill, is sort of showing up at a few offices and giving them my card and saying, I'm working on this bill and I'd love a chance to talk to someone from this office. And 9 times out of 10, I've been able to at least get in for a brief conversation. So that is definitely an option. You know, and also if you can't get in, you can leave the folder, and that's great as well that they have the information. As much as possible, try to be on time. Like, as I said, the elevators can be crazy and all that kind of stuff. So a few minutes is not going to make a huge difference. But, you know, if you're really stuck someplace, you know, you could try to text me, or you can try to call the office, and just, I can let them know that you're running late if you need me to. But on the schedule, in the packet of materials that I will give you their phone number, the office phone number, so that you could try to call. And, you know, another thing to note is you may end up meeting with a legislative aide or some other staff member and not the legislator themselves. And that's fine too. This just happens. They get called to committees, or they thought they were going to be there and something came up, and that's okay. You know, again, this is just sort of general, when you get into the meeting, to introduce yourself. And if you are a constituent, somebody from that district, let them know, tell them what city or town you're from. Again, share your personal connection if you feel comfortable. And I would just stress to be somewhat brief, in that if there are a couple other people in your group, everybody wants to be able to say something. If it's just you one-on-one, you might have a little more time to talk. But you know, I think top line of why you're there and what this means to you is important. If you give them the folder with the information about the bills, I think that's really helpful, because then they can follow along with the bill number. You don't have to remember the bill number. You hand it to them and they can see the bill number, because they'll definitely ask for the bill number. And like I said before, you know, maybe prepare a couple sentences about why you think these bills are important, what your thoughts are on them. And don't be afraid to ask them after the meeting, like, what do you think? Do you think these are bills you could support? And see what they tell you. They may say, I need to look into it more, but it's always worth you know, giving them a sort of direct ask. You know, and I know sometimes people are concerned that if they get asked a question, they might not know the answer, and that's perfectly fine as well. Just let them know that someone can get back to them, and we'll try to do it right away, and let me know, or another VBCF staff person, and we'll follow through with that. You know, one of the things I try to say to people is that, you know more, you know the most about breast cancer. They don't know as much as you for the most part. They may have a connection, but you, with your experience, know a lot. And one of the main things about this is sort of making a connection, letting them know who you are, and that you're there. You don't have to know every in and out of the legislative process. And, you know, you can offer yourself as a contact person. If they say, oh, I have more questions, they can, you know, contact them, you know, leave the folder with them, thank them for their time. And if you feel comfortable, you could ask to take a picture with them. It's really great for us to have those pictures to share that, you know, and we will post them and thank the legislators publicly. Thank you for meeting with our advocates today. And they love to get that as well. And you can text those to me. And, you know, this is back to sort of if they had questions, or if something came up that you're like, ooh, that's a good connection, or they know, they seem to know a lot about this, or they want to know more, or, you know, any number of things. We have a form that you can fill out and just write some of that down for us. And then we will have some note cards and things to hand you at the end that you could use to send a little note to them. It isn't that email's terrible, but it's really nice sometimes for people to get actual mail that says, I really enjoyed meeting with you. And you could put in your business card in there. Oh, this note said the address should be on their business card. I should have said, when you come up to the office to check in, there's usually a little stack of you know, business cards for that legislator that you can just grab one, because then you'll have their number, you'll have their address, you'll have that on there. I will give you contact information as well, but those cards are really good to And if you post pictures from the day, you can use these social media, tag us, that would be great. And, after Advocacy Day, as I keep you informed on sort of what's happening with the bills, you will have a little bit of an in that when you email them or call the office, again, you can say, I met with you on Advocacy Day, and I really hope you're going to vote for this bill X, whatever, or thank them. And again, just like connecting the dots for them. Francine, I think, is on the call. I ran into Francine Hunter's advocate that joined us last year, and I ran into her last Friday. And when she called to make an appointment with her legislator, they remembered her from last year. So, I think all these personal touches and getting to know people, it pays off in the long run, even if sometimes it feels like, it takes many years to get to where we get to the finish line. So that's sort of, I know it was a long-winded speech about all the things. So I'd love to know if anyone had any questions or things that they're concerned about, and we can talk about it.
Kirsten, I'll just point out that Laura had a question that she'd asked about, like, how, what is the average time allotted for meeting with your legislator? And I sort of suggested it's probably 5 to 10 minutes, is, I don't know.
Yeah, I think most cases, they're giving us probably on, like, if I have a formal meeting scheduled for you, they've probably given us 15 minutes max. And again, it's funny, last year, I heard from some people that, they got in there and either the aide or the legislator didn't seem that interested, and they sort of wrapped up pretty quickly. And, and then other people had great conversations and ended up staying for 20 minutes or, longer. So, but I think in general, they probably allot you about 15 minutes on the legislator's schedule. Sorry, I wasn't checking the chat, so I'm sorry for the question. Feel free to come off mute if you want to shout out a question.
I was just going to say, one of the first things that I found is that sometimes, even if you have a time slot, someone might already be in there who was a walk-in, or maybe just,
Right.
so I learned that sometimes you have to wait and just kind of push your way in when the other person leaves.
Right. I think too, being nice to the administrative assistant is really helpful because, again, when I've gone around, I think about 5 or 6 of the admins, when I say, oh, I'm from the Virginia Breast Cancer Foundation, I had one person say, oh, I have your license plate. I'm a breast cancer survivor, or my mom is going through breast cancer. And that's kind of a little in, they'll remember it. And then, as you said, Lisi, when someone pops back out, they'll try to help you get in to see the person quicker. That's good.
Yeah, and I was going to add, like, as you go into the room, I think sometimes I tend to like launch into things because I'm nervous. But I think if you sort of take a breath and ask, the legislator, what's your, do you have a connection to breast cancer? Do you know anybody affected by breast cancer? That can sort of open the conversation and make it a little more personal for them before you launch into sort of the, the policy side of it. So trying to sort of build that connection, or if you're, if you learn a little bit about your legislator and your kids go to the same school, or, you graduated from the same college, or, whatever those things might be, to sort of build that relationship, have that personal connection. I think that, or your church you go to, or whatever it might be, those can be, good little things to make it personal. So.
Yeah, I agree. And it might feel rushed, with some of the meetings, but others will feel a little less that way, and that'll be good. And sort of just to recap about the appointments, as I said, I tried to put people together. You might be in a group where you're going to one legislator that isn't your constituent, isn't your legislator, but then the next meeting it is. And then if you go to your senator, you both have the same senator. Everybody has a mix. So it's definitely been a game of Jenga, for me to sort of like put people where they need to be. And that's why I haven't sent out the appointments yet, because it's still sort of shifting around. I'm getting some emails back about things, and I want to make sure I have the, best list for you. I'm trying to think if there's anything else major. I will say we're starting pretty early, and we'll have some snacks in the room. But you know, then once we're going to the to the Capitol, might want to bring a little snack since we're having lunch a little late. Feel free to do that. You can bring a water bottle. Like I bring this in every day and they're fine with that. There are water fountains and places to fill up your water bottle. So that's good to know. We have about 35 advocates coming, which is a great group. I'm really excited. And, you know, I'll say it again when I send out another reminder that I know that the weather has been a little wacky and very cold. So if for some reason you, you know, wake up sick or you decide that the weather where you are is really bad, just text me and let me know, because then I can cancel your meetings for you, that kind of thing.
And the other, yeah, and along the lines of weather, I do think we'll be in sort of one room for the first half of the morning, and then we'll move over to the Capitol. But we will need, you know, just sort of be prepared. Whatever you're bringing with you, you'll probably be, you know, for the most part, carrying around. You can leave your coats in the room for a little while, but at some point we'll need to sort of vacate and be moving. So just think about that sort of as you're planning your, you know, certainly your footwear, make sure they're good, again, great walking shoes. And as well, you know, just your coats and you know, just sort of be prepared that we're going to be on the move and having to bring, you know, really everything with us. So, so yeah, but really excited to have you all here. You know, have you with us. I think it really does make an impact. I think seeing our pink tote bags, you know, people do notice that. It's a nice, you know, sort of marker. People, you know, pay attention, or, you know, we'll realize we're with breast cancer and we'll say nice things. So it really is a great day. So I'm looking forward to it. And thanks to each of you for your time tonight, and as well on Thursday.
We will try to take a picture at some point. I don't know what happened to my voice. All of a sudden, too much talking.
Yeah.
We will try to take a picture at some point. And in years past, we've gone outside to take the picture. I will not make you do that. We'll figure out a place where we can stay warm and get a group picture.
Yeah, either in that main room together, like right at the beginning, we'll take a picture on the bus, you know, we'll take pictures throughout the day up in the galley, you know, but trying to have those opportunities, you know, sort of document it and share it on social media. So be prepared for that as well. So good. Oh, you're on mute. Oh yeah.
Sorry. Well, I don't want to. It feels like every time I talk, I get bad. I don't know what's going on.
So I'll give you a break here. So this is Marilyn. I just want to say hi to Lisa and Lacey and Preeti, because I haven't seen some of you for a long time.
I know it's really great to see all your faces, and I can't wait to meet the new people. And
looking forward to meeting the new people. Yes.
It'll be great.
And seeing a bunch of you from last year. So really excited that you've come back to join us another year. We feel like that's a nice success that you joined us last year and you're coming back again. So, but thanks to everyone for their time, talent, their treasure. We're really excited to have you with us. So.
And if you have questions before Thursday, please feel free to reach out.
Get that frog out.
I don't know what's going on. It's bad. I'm not sick. And I will not be sick. That can't happen.
No.
Got that out of the way already.
And we can't have snow. I feel like we already had the snow. We already had a water crisis. We're ready to go.
Yeah.
I did just check the weather though, and it does call for rain. So if you have a small umbrella or you need something, there's rain in the forecast.
Oh, we had 0% earlier today. Has it changed? I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, what I just looked at had changed.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Well, the good news is the bus drops you right at the door. We're inside. Bus picks you up.
Yeah, I still
no outside walking.
Still have 0% at our end. It's saying for Richmond weather, 0% chance on Thursday, but that doesn't, you know, plan for whatever it might be. And yeah, we will get to take the tunnel through, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, good.
I
Well,
have a question. One question, sorry. If do you think that you mentioned that this could be discussed at the full committee on Thursday? Would that be around like what happened, what's been happening with the schedule, like around 12 or 1? And is that something that you think we could stay for if it does go to full committee?
My understanding is that because the subcommittee was a unanimous sort of moving it on, what will happen to the full committee is that it will be a report from subcommittee 1, and there won't be any
Okay.
discussion. So
Okay.
there won't be any testimony. There won't be any chance to give testimony. Usually in the full
Okay.
committee, they only take testimony if it's a brand new bill that they haven't heard before, or there's an issue. So the fact that they have, blessed it to move forward, I will double check that and make sure, because I know last year the bill was in that committee and we were able to testify, but I'm fairly certain that it'll just be a report. So
Okay.
we won't need to be there.
Okay. Good to know, just planning the day.
Yeah, no, that's good. And that's good too, because last year I didn't get to come back to have lunch with everyone. And I think that's a really nice time to sort of, debrief and hear about how things went. And we always like to hear about things we could do to improve for the next year. So I'm glad. I hope most of you can come join us back at our offices for that. I know it's a long day, so I appreciate you all being there and taking time out of your own days to be there with us. It really makes a difference. Appreciate it. All right. Well, now that we're about to get off the call, my voice is better. So again, I will say, please feel free to reach out and let me know if you have questions. I will try to, get everything up to date tomorrow with our appointments and things so that we're ready to go, and we'll have materials for you and that sort of thing. If you feel comfortable wearing pink, we would love for you to wear pink. It just visually is good for legislators to see a group of us. But I also understand that some people don't want to wear pink. That's fine too. We will have some stickers that if you feel like wearing that say that you're a breast cancer advocate or a survivor or thriver, if you feel like putting those on, we'll have those and just some other materials. But thanks again, everyone. Appreciate you. And I'll send out the PowerPoint and the recording later if you want to look at it again.